Okay. I have something really cool tonight, okay? See these things? These things here? Now that one up there, we left a special. Anna, can you go get that little tub with water in it? Because, let's see, we put seeds in these two, but we still have to plant seeds in these two, okay, in the dirt ones. And that one over there doesn't have any water in it yet. And we thought that the water thing was really kind of cool, so we didn't water it yet. So, what we're going to talk about, believe it or not, is what's called the parable of the sower. You ever hear about the parable of the sower? You know what a sower is? What's a sower? When you sow seeds? There's two different kinds of sow, isn't there? There's a sow with a needle and the thread, and then there's a sow as you're sowing seeds. And sow with a needle and a thread is S-E-W. And sow as you're planting seeds is S-O-W. Did you know that? You did? Okay. Well, we're going to talk about S-O-W tonight. So, when Jesus told this story, okay, so he had, let's see, he'd come down out of his place, and he was on the lake, just kind of like you guys. Did you get to go to the lake? Okay, well, just kind of like you guys were, on the bank. That's where he was. And all these people just crowded around him. So somebody got him a boat, and he got on the boat, and he went out just a little bit of ways so that he could actually talk without people just mauling him, you know? So he told this story about 4 different kinds of dirt. Did you know there was that many kinds? Yeah. Okay. So when I tell you this story, it's going to be kind of a Ginger paraphrase instead of what's really there. Because that's what I do. Okay, Jesus said, "Listen, behold, a sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seed fell along a beaten path." Does that look like a beaten path? Like a sidewalk, maybe? Okay, that's what a beaten path is. And the birds came and pecked out the seeds, and the wind came and blew them all away. And other seed fell on the stony place, and it didn't have very much soil. So if these seeds grow, they'll grow really fast, but they won't have anywhere to put their roots. And when the sun comes out like it did today, they'll just shrivel up because they won't have any way to get more water. And other seeds fell in this dirt. This is the dirt that's in my pasture. So this is the kind of dirt that we have that grows really good blackberries.
And weeds.
And have you... Oh.
Here? No.
No. Is that, Bob? No. Yes.
I thought Bob drove a white car.
It is white. Okay, we'll wait just a minute then. So anyway, have you ever tried to go through the blackberry bushes? You always go around them, huh? Do you know what is underneath the blackberry bushes? Me neither. I'd be scared to look. Do you know when I go and pick the blackberries, I take my ATV and I go right into the middle of them, and then I stand on my ATV as far as I can reach and I pick the blackberries because I'm not going in there. Howdy.
Youngins service tonight?
Well, almost. No.
It's just me, smell.
Rip.
So we're having a youngin service.
Well, kind of. It's an olden service, too.
I'm sorry, really.
Oh, no.
Sorry for interrupting.
I didn't even know that you were going to be here. I thought you had told Mr. Richard that you had doing something, traveling something.
I'm leaving Friday. So is it just us tonight?
It's just us tonight. The Toshas took off. Absolutely. The Toshas took off and went to Branson to see Moses at the Sight and Sound.
Yeah, they were talking about that.
Well, thank you.
Well, I Googled blacksmith and the Bible, found over 900 different sites that were, all the way back from, well, not quite to Adam and Eve, but when they decided fire came.
Sure.
The Bible.
Yeah. We're in the back of the Bible. We are. We're in Mark 4.
All right, thank you. So sorry we interrupted.
Oh, no worries. We hadn't gotten very far. We were talking, we just led up with where Jesus had gotten into the boat and was now telling the story about the seeds and the soil. Okay. And we had gotten, talked about the beaten path and the stony row and where the blackberries grow. That's my pasture dirt right there. And so we're almost ready to talk about the good soil, the garden. And other seeds fell into the garden and produced a harvest. And I really don't know for sure what 30, 60, and 100-fold means. But I did have one year where the tomatoes grew. And I had more tomatoes than I knew. I had tomatoes coming. I canned tomatoes. I froze tomatoes. I fried tomatoes. I finally went out and picked all the green ones and set them in a bucket because I was going to make relish or chow chow or something. And I forgot about them, and they ripened in my house, and my house is cold. Okay, so anyway. So here is a tray, right? And it's got those 4 different places that Jesus was talking about to plant. And you 3 are going to take yours home, and we're going to give you some seeds. These won't grow, okay? So I'll tell you that already. But these 2, whatever you pick to put in here, will grow. It'll just be interesting to see how they grow, okay? So what do you think is the same about each one of these in that whole story? Okay, let's look at it again. A sower went out to sow. So I can picture him. He's got this bag of seed over his shoulder, and he's reaching in, and he's going like this, right? And he encounters 4 different types of dirt. So do you think...
Seed is light.
Well, hold on. Now you go ahead. Seed is light. Go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry.
No. And when they were broadcasting seed, like you said, they throw it into the wind.
Okay, into the wind.
And it carries the seed to all 4 different places. There's no where that seed might land.
Oh.
That's probably the reason why.
Aha.
If you think, because you have to think like a farmer.
Are we farmers? Yes. Okay.
Yeah. But
We are.
when you broadcast, like grass seed, you go out here and you got this nice breeze that's coming up. We have a little term this and it broadcasted out there, or you got a trailer with a little deal on the back of it and it broadcast out there. But some of that seed is going to
Go on. Yeah.
where it should ought to be. So wherever that seed lies, it's where it's going to germinate.
Or at least try to.
You can see grass seed all over in the bricks,
Oh.
sidewalk.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow, that would have been a really good idea to do, is put some bricks out and do that. Okay, so, maybe we can suppose then that the sower was the same wherever he went. He was the one that was sowing the seed, and he didn't change seed bags. So it was where the seeds lit, these 4 different dirts, that was different, huh? Did you notice something else in our story? Did you notice that it started off and the seeds were on the beaten path where they didn't grow, right? There was no place for them to grow. And then it was on the stony row, and then it was in the blackberry patch, and then finally it's in the garden, right? So, on the beaten path. I wonder if we can think of a time when you were doing something and whatever it was just didn't work, no matter how hard you tried. It just didn't work. Like you were studying you were studying for a math test and you just couldn't get the math in your head, right? That's you, okay? What about if you were trying to be a friend to somebody and they just kept turning away and just saying, I don't want you, I don't want you. Or what if your equipment broke down? Your tractor, your hay baler.
You're working on the square one, the triangles will come right.
The triangles won't come right? Yeah, it's just stuff. It just, whatever you're doing, it just doesn't work. And then here in this one, it just seems like it's going to be really, really good because probably we need to put more water in here. Because you can see this kind of like the gravel at the bottom of a stream where it should grow, right? And it'll sprout up really quick. So I wonder if we can think of something where maybe like we bought something for the price. And then realized when we got home it was a piece of junk. Because it was, you get what you pay for sometimes, right? Or maybe you thought, oh, I've got this math. And you went and you took your test and you went, I don't have this math. I don't have this math. And you failed the test.
15 tests in 2 months.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And then here comes the blackberries. I like to think of the blackberries as thinking about maybe a shortcut. So I'm thinking, here's the pavement, and here's our gravel road, and then we're getting off into the blackberries because we want to get back to the garden, and so we take a shortcut, right? But we got to get through those blackberries. And anytime we take a shortcut, it seems like there's all sorts of stuff that comes up, right? We think, I'll leave my chores till later. I'll wait to water the alpacas, right? And then all of a sudden it's 10:30 at night and it's this temperature and I realize I didn't water the alpacas. I'll bet they are so hot, right? So shortcuts just don't work. Things come up and get in the way and make it so we can't get done what we want to get done. And I think of this kind of like maybe sometimes like we have a daughter-in-law whose oldest son is disabled. And the older he gets, the more care he requires. And it's kind of, to me, it's kind of like the blackberries growing up is he's got so much, every 20 minutes of her life, every day, she's got to do something for him. Every 20 minutes, right? And it's a sacrifice, but it's not a bad thing for her. She does it lovingly and she does it caringly because she genuinely likes this kid, loves this kid. But it's just things that come up, okay? Finally, the sower comes to the garden place. And he looks at this soil and he picks it up and he looks at it and he realizes this is really good dirt here. It's got good stuff in it. And maybe if we plant seeds in that, it'll grow. That's first. It'll grow. Not too fast, not too slow, but just right. Maybe it's that math test that you actually studied for. Yeah? Maybe it's taking time, like Rich always takes time when he's going to buy something. He takes a lot of time. Sometimes it really is like, let's get it over with, but he takes a lot of time and gets something that's really what he wants. So I want you all to know, pastors included, all of us, have times when the seeds we sow fall in these different places, just like what Bob was talking about. His seeds got in his sidewalk, not necessarily in the yard where he wanted them to go. They went in his sidewalk between the bricks, right? And sometimes it takes a really good look at what we're doing and looking around us to see that we can make a difference someplace there, okay? So there's 4 places to plant. There's the beaten path, and the stony row, and where the blackberries grow, and the garden. So let me talk to you about something. There's a difference between what you know. Let's say you know about this and you know about this. So there's a difference between what you know and what you know. You don't understand, do you? Okay, so you can know that that's mom, but you know that that's mom. If there was a whole group of women here, you could go right to your mom, even though you know who she is, right? If there was 15 women here, you could pick her out. That's a difference between just knowing something and knowing something, okay? 17 years ago, this is a story about my horse, okay? 17 years ago, we brought Ace and Dakota into our lives. Ace had been trained probably for the track. She was appendix bred, so she was long-legged and tall and really beautiful. And she was so soft and responsive to ride for me. Some other people couldn't ride her. Literally. She balked, she bucked, she reared. She was a mess.
Like a horse you take care of.
I don't know why they're like that.
Now as a horseshoer, we're talking about horses. There's some horses that will get along with women a lot better than men because they've been around women. You know, they take care of them, they're nice to them, everything like this. My sister-in-law has a horse, his name is Buster, and my wife was holding it, and I was looking up there, and she was letting Buster just do whatever he willed, you know. I said, hold his head, you know, and he said, she was nibbling on him, you know, just loving on her and stuff like that. And I was getting the foot jacked like this on the back foot. And at my age, I don't need that. I fought horses all the time, and stuff like that. And I said, hold her head and get her, you know, just keep her doing from what she's doing and pay attention. So I couldn't hold the foot. Kept leaning on me, kicking out, kicking back, you know. So I had my sister-in-law, I said, you get underneath that. She gets under, the horse don't do a thing. You could drop the lead rope and everything, that horse is stand there, just froze.
We have them.
And so I just trimmed the foot right as she got it, and then I kind of slid up underneath there, and then brought it back, and there he goes again. You know?
Oh my goodness, these horses.
I treat a horse like I do a person. Every horse is different. Every horse has his own thinking. I've never beat on a horse in my life. I might have took a war bridle to it just to get its attention, but not in an angry way, you know, sometimes. But most of the time, I usually don't have no problem because I talk to them. I talk to them like I do a person.
Yeah.
They understand.
Yes, they do.
I'm here to do something to help them out. I'm not here to hurt.
Yep. And they know that.
Cowboy them around and everything like that.
And they know that.
And they do.
So Ace was like that with my ex-daughter-in-law. It was really kind of interesting. She was 5 when we brought her home, and I believe, I don't have any proof of this, but I believe that when she was young and they were training her, they pushed her really hard, and so her ankles kind of broke in like this. And so she's really like this now. She's 24 and she's really getting bad. But what I knew when I was riding her worked well. I was able to ride her well from what I knew. Dakota, on the other hand, the paint, she was 15 months old when we went over to Thayer, Missouri, which is way over there on the other end of the state.
Down there in them hills.
Them, yes, those hillbillies, yes they are. She hadn't even been halter broke. But one unique thing that guy did is he trained his horses to come on a whistle. She still comes when I call and whistle. And she's 19 this year. But anyway, that's off the track. So Rich and the guy I bought her from literally had to pick her up and put her on the trailer.
And that too.
And she was on the trailer and she whinnied and she called and she cried and she whinnied and she called and she cried. And about a couple hours later or so, we stopped for gas or something, and I went back there and I gave her an apple. And something about that little tiny act of kindness just made a connection. But training her was no easy task at all. I expected her, because of what I knew, I expected her to know what I knew. Like how to move over so I could lean over and open a gate. But I hadn't taught her that. I just expected her to know it. Like, how would she know that, right? So we had some downright arguments. Her issues were going forward, leading, riding, and stopping. And she still has some issues with stopping. It seemed like all of my efforts fell on that beaten path. All the knowledge that I tried to give her was just blown away by the wind under her tail. But I knew I was a good trainer, because when I was a teenager, all the people in the valley gave me their young horses to work on before they put their kids on. Either I was gullible or something, I don't know. So I knew I had good seed, and I knew Dakota was good soil to plant. So what was the problem? What was the barrier that kept my seeds just blowing away under the wind under her tail? Well, it took some time, and we attended seminars. We went to John Lyons, we went to Pat Pirelli, we went to Dennis Reese, we went to some local trainers. And what that did is it helped me remember what I knew that I'd forgotten I know, if that makes any sense. Okay. It had been 20 years between horses for me. My memory said, get on and ride. Growing up, we expected that our horses could be out in the mountains for 6 months over winter, come back in the spring, and we just get on and go. No fussing, no bucking, no re-braking, and no tune-ups. We just got on and went. That's what we expected. Okay? My thinking that I knew how to get on and ride was not the problem. In other words, I was a sower and I was riding a good seed. Dakota was a ground, and I thought I knew, I remembered what to do. Yet I felt this nagging feeling that what I was not remembering, something This feeling I was trying to do something that I knew. What was it? Have you been there? Have you been there where you're at something new? A new school, a new place to live, a new job, or even the old job in a new way. A new horse. That's kind of scary sometimes. Here's what can happen. So I'm going to tell a story on a couple of kids. They were asked to follow the recipe on a box of Jiffy cornbread. It's easy for someone who's done it before. You get a bowl, you dump out the cornmeal, you add 1 egg and 1/3 cup of milk, stir it up, pour it in the greased pan, put it in a 425 oven for about 12 minutes or so, and it comes out this delightful golden brown, sweet-smelling cornbread, perfect for chili supper, right?
Or ham and beans.
Ham and beans. Well, these kids got their bowl. Yes, they did. They turned on the oven, they dumped the cornmeal in the bowl and the 1 egg. And that's where everything got upside down. They did not know fractions. I didn't know they didn't know fractions. They were in 3rd and 4th grade. Do you know fractions? Oh, okay. You know some? Okay. Well, I didn't know they didn't know fractions. So when it came to 1/3 cup milk, they decided that it meant 1 cup 3 times. So they poured 3 cups of milk.
That was called cornbread.
Added more cornbread.
Fortunately, they did realize it didn't look right, and they did ask for assistance.
And she gave us on this long ritual of
And that's the same thing. That's the same thing with Dakota and me. There was some things that I should have known, but I just couldn't put my finger on what it was that I wasn't getting right.
And Dakota didn't tell you that either.
Yeah, in her own way.
Well, usually they wait till they get you off and they take their own way.
Like I said, we've had our arguments. We have had our arguments. I'll tell this short story. Our first argument, real argument that we ever had, was probably maybe our 4th ride or so, and she was doing real good. She never bucked. She crow-hopped around some, but she never bucked. She backed up a lot. When she gets upset, she backs up. And she had backed me under the tree and tried to get me off, and that didn't work because I know how to slip down off the side, and she found herself with her ears in the tree herself, right? But what she did is you could see her thinking. Her ears are just going like this, and I'm thinking, okay, what is going on with this horse, right? And all of a sudden, here she is, and she decides she's had enough, and she lays down. Me, saddle, and all, lays down. Well, she did it slow enough. I could get my feet out of the stirrups, no big deal, you know. I climbed off her and let her get back up and everything. And then I thought, now why'd she do that? How do I keep her from doing that again? So I thought, and I thought, and I thought, and I thought. Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night knowing an answer? Just boom, and there it is. Well, I remembered my uncle. He was a horse whisperer. He lived in Montana. And I remember, I don't know what story he was telling, but I could just hear him saying, when she does it again, throw yourself on her neck. So I did. I set her up and let her lay down with me. And I calmly got off, and I just laid myself on her neck. And she tried to pick her head up and bang me in the nose, and I was like, okay, that's dizzy. But then she laid back down, and I just held her down and just loved on her for about a half an hour. Then I let her get up. She's never laid down with me again. But she did lay down with another trainer. So she's a wily one. Okay, back to the other.
That's a paint.
That's the paint.
Because I had a paint that all he liked to do is go swimming.
Aha.
No matter where you see water, you better hang on because you don't like it.
Right in the water. Interesting. He liked the water. Huh.
So does Dakota.
Well, he's a lab. Labs are supposed to like water. So maybe your paint was part lab.
I don't know what it was, but I guarantee you one thing, I went through 3 saddles because he ruined all 3.
Oh my goodness. That's right.
Because he was like half hippopotamus because he goes to the bottom and walk on the bottom and then come up and get for air.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they want to, I think they wanted to learn how the fishies go.
Maybe they just wanted to get cool. I don't know.
I've never seen a horse blow air when it went to the water.
Now,
Huh.
she'd go, and then she'd just kind of hunker down and
Jump up?
and go to the surface, and she'd get another breath, and the way we'd go back down to the bottom. I said, we got to get around this river somehow. I mean, to the other end.
Well, it's a good thing she wasn't in a 30-foot water.
The Osho River,
How deep is that?
it could be 60 feet.
And she'd be down there on the bottom at 60 feet?
I don't know, because I couldn't see the sun. My hat was still floating.
I'd be worried that I couldn't hold my breath that long.
I was about ready to bail on her, and I was, but I wanted my saddle back.
Oh my goodness.
We go to the top, and then it go back down to the bottom, and I could see how far from the other end of the bank. But the only problem is, I didn't want to cross the river in the first place. We had to go around. No, we didn't go back in. We went around the bridge side.
Huh.
She got
That's really
it must be
interesting.
in the paints, something. It's got to be in the paint.
It is,
Gene.
especially if they have Hancock in their line.
Yeah, this one had hand.
This one does too. I have found out the hard way. They are thinkers. Not good for a horse. Anyway, so here we come, all the way back around, and we've gone down these little trails, and we've walked the pavement, and we've walked the gravel road, and we've tried to go through the blackberries, and now we come to the good soil. I would say that this is ineffective, and this is effective, more than likely, something like that anyway. So how do you go from having to try to get God's attention? That's what I would say would be ineffective. And you're sitting there, nothing works. Remember, we decided that. Just nothing is working. And it's ineffective. Oh, okay. All the way to where you just feel like everything is working just right. Or, as maybe you could call it, you have God's ear, or you're walking in the blessings. And I don't know about you, but I want to live in the blessings. There's been so many times I've not been there, where everything I did was wrong. I felt God ignored me. My prayers went unanswered. It was there when I was with Dakota, trying to figure that out. It was there that I could not get her paying attention to my training, and I sought help. And I think that's kind of key. What am I doing wrong? How do I get my seed off the beaten path, or in the stony path, or in the middle of the blackberries, and get it back into the right ground? Consider a time when you worked with your dad on something. You worked with your dad on something, right? Okay. maybe putting together a bicycle for Christmas. When Dad was there, now just think about this a minute, okay? When Dad was there, the tools seemed to know exactly what to do. The bolts went in the right places, the chain got around and tightened right up. And then you had to learn how to ride all by yourself. Do you remember riding your bicycle the first time?
I fell off.
Yeah, it fell off. Do you remember riding your bicycle the first time? Did you ride a bicycle?
I won't
Okay.
First time I did it. And I didn't fall off.
You didn't fall off. Well, that's wonderful. That wasn't my experience.
I fell off, knocked out teeth.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
And a learning curve because you remember what you shouldn't do the next time.
Well, not
Just
even
take a deep seat and a
go.
faraway
Got my
look.
teeth knocked loose again.
Yeah.
Face planted twice on the road.
All that kind of stuff, okay? But I want you to remember that when your dad was there helping you or your mom was there helping you, everything seemed to work. But when they left and you had to do it by yourself, all of a sudden things weren't working quite the same way, huh? Yeah, so keep that in mind.
Always remember, horses are better than bicycles because they don't fall over.
Most of the time. So in finishing up, I want you to think about the ground that you're sowing in. And I want you to think about the results. Okay? Do things seem to happen and fall through? That would be this one. Do things never seem to happen? That would be that one. Do things seem to happen, you're working, everything just seems to just crowd on top of you? That would be that one. Or, when you actually do something, does it actually work? Are you reaping the good rewards of your planting? So I want to challenge you on that, okay? Psalms 139, 23 and 24 says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxious thoughts, and see if there be any hurtful way in me, and lead me into life everlasting." Father, I ask as we study about the sower and the seed and the ground, that you give us insight into our lives, that we might be able to find our way to the garden of your greatest blessing. We get weary and discouraged when we don't know where to sow or how to sow. We get frustrated when we don't understand why some things work and some don't. We confess our inability to understand the difference between the soils, thinking, hey, it's ground. It should grow. Help us to grow where and how and why you want us to. Help us to be effective in our love and care for others. Help us to see how much we rely on you to know what we know. Thank you, Father. Thank you for loving us so much that you leave us instructions we can follow with your assistance. Bring us to your best blessings. Amen.
Amen.